The sole purpose of this video is to provide a basic overview and orientation of your new apparatus. This video is not intended to act as or replace individualized driver-operator training. Individual fire departments may base guidelines, policies, and procedures tailored for best practices. Pierce Manufacturing and Hughes Fire Equipment representatives are not liable for injuries caused from acts resulting from actions inconsistent with the information provided within this video and/or accompanying manuals. Refer to the Operation and Maintenance Manual for complete details relating to the components and features of this apparatus. Only trained personnel should operate this vehicle or perform maintenance. You are responsible for learning how to operate this fire apparatus under all conditions without having to refer to the manual while operating at an emergency incident. This video will discuss types of warnings and caution labels. It is your responsibility to locate and identify each of the labels and understand the importance and associated hazards. Warning labels will point out procedure that must be taken or action that must be avoided to guard against the possibility of serious injury or death. Caution labels will advise you that there is a risk of damage to property if certain precautions are not followed. Continuous training, reviewing of operation and service manuals, developing good standardized practices will assist driver operators with a more complete understanding of the components and operation of this fire apparatus. As the driver operator of this vehicle, you are responsible for understanding the function of each component of the apparatus, maintaining control of the fire apparatus at all times while in operation, make operational and functional changes while operating at an emergency without having to read operator's instructions or safety warning labels, operate manual override and emergency shutdown procedures immediately if a component fails to operate properly. Components location may vary with each Pierce fire apparatus. Review the exact location of each component prior to operation. Major inconsistencies between your vehicle and the information contained in this video should be directed to your sales representative. Safe operation of any vehicle is the responsibility of the driver operator. You must learn the location and function of all controls, switches, gauges, valves, inlets, and discharges. Due to a higher center of gravity, heavy trucks have a significantly higher rollover tendency than other types of vehicles. To reduce the risk of rollover, avoid making sharp turns, excessive speed, and avoid abrupt maneuvers. In the event of a rollover crash, an unbelted person is significantly more likely to become injured or die than a person wearing a seatbelt. In the event of a crash, unbuckled occupants can also become a hazard to other occupants as they may be thrown around inside the cab. Seatbelts are required while in operation. Please refer to your warranty certificates for details and information enclosed in your manuals. Customer-installed equipment must be mounted to withstand road travel and comply with NFPA 1901. Modifications such as drilling holes or welding to structural frame components of the chassis are not permitted. Contact Pierce for instruction and review of non-structural sheet metal or other dissimilar metals for modification. Follow the radio installation guide for further assistance on installing or mounting electronics. Before placing your new apparatus into service, perform a primary inspection of key components of the apparatus, including all fluid levels, anti-lock braking systems, electronic stability control, and automatic traction control. Weigh your apparatus to ensure that it conforms to axle and brake ratings. Never exceed the gross axle rating printed on the label inside the cab. Exceeding these ratings could lead to reduced component life, personal injury, or death. Review the use of auxiliary braking systems, compression brake, exhaust brake, electronic retarder, and hydraulic retarder. Before placing the apparatus in service, refer to the operational maintenance manuals. Information on the operation and maintenance functions for the components such as the pump, pressure governor, and foam systems, along with other options, is provided in either the Pierce manuals and/or other manufacturer support information delivered with the apparatus. If you need more information, please contact Hughes Fire Equipment. Congratulations, Caldwell Fire, on your new apparatus, job number 29685. Please utilize this job number when referencing your vehicle with Hughes Fire Equipment or Pierce Manufacturing. Let's get started on a brief orientation of your apparatus. In the front bumper, there are 2 tow hooks. Moving to the passenger side, there are 2 air horns. And moving to the driver's side, there is a recessed mechanical siren. Moving up on top of the bumper, there is an 1.5-inch discharge port. Located in the center is a tub which houses hosing, which is covered. Moving up onto the body, on the outside edge, are your turn and running lights. Moving inward on the headlight cluster, the outer lights are your low beam headlights. Moving to the inner cluster of the headlights is the high beam headlights. Moving up from that location are the right and left turn arrows. And just inside that cluster are 2 warning lights. Moving up from that location, there are 2 grab handles. And at the top of the windshield, just at the brow, there are running lights. Moving just inward of that, you have 2 fixed forward-facing floodlights. Moving to the very top, this is a full-width light bar. And in the center is your opticom. As we move through these images, we'll have some close-ups of those so that you can reference them just a little bit more clear. In addition, on the side of the bumper, there are 2 right and left emergency warning lights. On the inside of the compartment, there is dry deck material to allow for ventilation. Generalized side view from the driver's side. We'll move down that side as we progress on this. This is going to be the passenger side generalized view. But let's start back with the driver's side. There are 2 right and left-handed forward and back keyed door handles. There is also a left turn camera. Moving to the red section here, this is going to be your auto eject for your shore power. You have a split mirror for your side mirrors. This is your left turn or side view mirror, camera. Looking at your auto eject, this is a 30 amp shore inlet. These are your Goodyear G296 MSA tires. In the center of the hub, this is going to be a Stenco wheel hub indicator. Looking at the driver's side of your vehicle and the passenger side, you have 2 step lights. Back up to the under section of your cab. This is going to be your perimeter lights or step lights. Also looking mid-cab, there is a warning light. Above this, there are 4 individualized warning lights. Looking at generalized section of the front portion of your pump panel. We'll get into a little bit more detail in this here shortly. On the left-hand side, color-coded, this is your number 1 driver's side discharge. Because you have electric valves, this is the override location for that. On this next one down, this is a number 3 discharge, purple in color. It's color coordinated, and this is the override for that electronic valve. Moving up to the top, this is your auxiliary or foam inlet. Just inside the cap, there is also a foam strainer. This is the number 1 discharge side. It's yellow in color. To the right of that, once again, is the override. This is the number 3 side discharge, 2.5 inch with additional override. Looking down, this is your CAF's air outlet. Also on the bottom, these are your discharge drains for number 1 and number 3, a pump drain, and a driver's side auxiliary 2.5 inch drain. Moving to the very top of the pump panel, we're looking at the Pierce logo in the upper right hand side. Just above that is the driver main inlet override, once again for a electronic valve. Generalized view of the pump panel with the inlet for your large diameter. On the right side, primer drain. This is your recirculating line, flush line, and manifold drain. This is going to be your driver's side auxiliary 2.5 inch inlet. Just below that inlet is going to be an override. It is also color coded in black. It's a generalized view of the side of your pump panel. As we look at the side, this is going to be your foam pump discharge drain, and just below that is your manifold drain. This is going to be a step that in the process of pulling the tab on the side, which is located here in black, releasing that allows you to flip the step over to allow you to gain access to a larger step or platform. This is also location of the drains that we showed earlier, but the levers I'm looking at the very bottom, this is to access the bottom of your pump panel. This is to fully enclose your pump panel. Looking as a general view from the bottom, looking up at the side of the passenger side, this is going to be the access to a roll-up door. That roll-up door houses 2 speed load locations, in addition with some long storage and additional speed load on top. This is the handle that you would pull to retract and pull down the roll-up door. On your left-hand side, you can also see that there is a storage for a longboard, and just below that for a long storage handle tool. Just to the right of that is your 2.5 inch cross lay. The lever that you see releases the lever, which allows the actual slide load to be removed. These are the 2 cross loads, cross load number 1 and cross load number 2. Color coded also in red and in white. They are both foam and water accessible. And in the center, this is the release to release those side panels so that the cross loads can be pulled out. Just to the back half of those, moving toward the rear of the cab, this compartment door, once it is turned and opened, you can easily access the opposite side with the lever down at the lower section of the body. Once that is depressed, and I think I have a shot of that here next, open this by lifting and opening the door. Once the door is open and you have access inside, this is going to be the location of your fold down steps. The next several slides will walk us through how to pull that step out, how to access that to make it accessible to gain to your pump panel. Once the step has been pulled out, it will unfold all the way down, gaining access to the top section where you have a door to access the pump panel. This is the door that opens, providing you access to your pump panel. As you can see, the door is open. On the left-hand side at the very top, there is a side-mounted floodlight. Well, next section we'll talk about is the lower section. This is the driver main inlet air bleed, passenger air inlet bleed, front discharge, crosslay 1, 2, 3, a 2.5, and large diameter discharge. These are all across the bottom drains. As we look up on the right-hand side, there is a pump closed door. Open that door, which gains you access to your foam valve, in addition to your manual pump shift override. Simply open the red cover, flip the switch, which will activate the amber light. Generalized view of your pump panel, standing at the pump panel. Once again, a generalized view. We'll break down those individually here in the next set of images. Starting at the very top, you have your manual pump shift. You have a door open light, which right next to that is an audible alarm, your pump overheat, and the PCM fault, which will indicate in yellow. This is standing on the inside. You can see the latch to gain access outside of this door, to gain access outside of the location. Looking at the other set of switches here on the left-hand side will be the next set of slides. This is to indicate the illumination of those lights. You have your panel lights, driver side scene lights, passenger side scene light, rear scene, pump compartment heater, and also in the red switch, an air horn. This is a close-up of the switches here, which is also indicating the on the very right-hand side, the round audible alarm. Looking at the top section of the pump panel at the very top, this is going to be your warning label at the very beginning. Moving off to the right-hand side, this is your Pierce maintenance schedule. This also gives you information on job number and pump pressures. Looking at the job number at the top, govern speed at the very bottom, your individual pump pressures and RPMs for 150, 200, and 250 PSI. Once again, a generalized picture to give you an idea of where we're moving to next. We're going to start on the left-hand side in the upper corner of the pump panel. This is going to be on both right and left-hand side of your pump panel, which is an access light. Looking at the next section on the upper left-hand corner, starting with the panel gauge heater. This is automatic. When the heater is on, the light will illuminate. Moving to the right of that, this is going to be your Foam A tank vision, which gives you an indication of the level of your foam tank for Class A foam. This is your compressor for your Hercules calf system. There is an on-off switch, a manual and an auto. Gives you your air pressure, oil temperature, and you have an emergency light for high oil temp. This is going to be your Pierce indication for your foam system. This is the master intake and master discharge. This is also the location for your test gauge ports for vacuum and pressure. Once again, a generalized view of this section just to orientate you where we're going to be going next. We're going to be looking once again at the left-hand side of the pump panel. This is your CAF's discharge air supply valve. Moving just to the right of that, this is the CAF's discharge air supply valve next to the CAF's discharge air supply valve. These are two different for red and for white discharges. Once again, just to generalize, we'll move down to the slant portion of your pump panel. Starting once again in the upper left-hand corner, this is going to be your foam system instructions for operating your foam system. This is going to be the driver's main inlet, open and close, electronic valve. Once again, passenger main inlet, open and close, electronic. And also here located on this is going to be your CAFS foam for crosslay number 1 and your foam CAFS for crosslay number 2. Moving across the panel, moving upward above, this is going to be your automatic deluge system. Moving to the left, this is the controller for your deluge system, closed, preset, and open. This is for your L card. Moving to the right-hand side, this is going to be your passenger side 2.5-inch pre-connect. It's in orange, and it also has the ability for foam. Correction, it does not have foam. This is the fire pump, push to prime, and on the very right-hand side, this is your Pierce governor. Looking down to the next set of valves and switches and gauges. Looking on the left, tank fill. Moving up to the upper right-hand corner here in the middle of this section, this is your 2.5-inch blue crosslay. And you can see in the middle of that is your extender for your master stream device. This is to extend it up higher into the air. To the right-hand side is also your 2.5 tank fill. Moving once again over is your reel blowout valve and your reel discharge and deluge discharge. Moving all the way to the far hand side, these are your automatic or electronic valves, and we'll have a close-up of those also here in the next set of images. This is the number 1 driver side discharge, number 2 passenger side discharge, number 3 driver side and large diameter passenger. Just above that in the blue boxes, those were your push to talk for your headsets. Generalized view of the top of the cab, which shows your deluge, and additional storage on the left-hand side. This is going to be the water fill location for top. There is no latch on this. It is open, and also the A tank fill for your foam. This is also your CAF system pump. The A foam tank does have a latch. The water does not. This is looking from the front of the cab toward the rear to the covered hose portions and top covered storage locations. We'll be looking at those also here. These are independently opening covers which all have working lights near the lever. Moving to the driver's side, just behind the pump panel access location, we'll look at that compartment door here. This is a roll-up compartment door. When that door is rolled to the open position, you can see you have a variety of pull-out that's moved down and a few fixed shelves in this location. You can see this shelf is one that pulls out, and additionally it angles down once it's pulled out. Simply take the two black indicators, push them together, and that allows you to gain access. This is going to be your S1 breaker box for shore power. Just behind that breaker box is going to be your shore power outlet. This is a 15 amp circuit. Moving just above that, this is your auto charger, which runs off of shore power, in addition with a 12 volt DC termination location. This is a close-up of the 12-volt DC termination block. As we look at the shelves, you can see the bottom shelf is a pull-out shelf. The next one also has a lever that allows you to pull the shelf out, and the next one up above that is a fixed shelf. Once again, looking at the top section, this is going to be a pull-out and also slant down shelf. By utilizing the two black levers, you can push those together, allowing you to gain access. This is a demonstration of that shelf in its tipped location. This is going to be your bottom shelf, which also pulls out. Just underneath this compartment, ground level, this is the access point for your folding wheel chocks. And to the left, once again, this is the location that covers your entire pump package underneath. Just moving to the front of the wheel well, this is going to be a bottle storage location. And there's also on the very bottom a mid-cabbed marker light. There is an emergency or warning light just over the rear tire. Moving to the very rear of the tire, just up in this compartment, this is going to be an additional location where you would find your DEF fill and your diesel fill. They're clearly identified when you look at this. It has bottle storage on the left. In the blue section, you have a keyed or locking DEF cap. And in the very bottom, this is going to be your diesel, which also has the ability, when the cap is taken off, there is a chain attached so that you don't lose it, but you can also store that cap just on the upper right-hand holder for your cap. Looking at the side of the apparatus, this is going to be directly over the rear section of the rear tire. As we open this compartment by merely unlatching and lifting up, this is a pull-out shelf that also tilts down into the downward position to gain access for visual and see tools easier. You can see it now in that open position. We're now looking at the rear of the driver's side. When this compartment door is open, we'll talk a little bit about what's inside of there. Also note, just in the very bottom of that, or correction, at the very top of this section, there is an emergency warning light in addition to the side-facing floodlight. Looking inside this compartment, you can see you have a variety of different adjustable shelves and pull-out shelves. The bottom is a pull-out shelf. The top shelf is a pull-out tilt down. And you'll also see at the very top, these are all adjustable. At the very top, there is an electrical junction box. This is going to be a shore power outlet, which is going to be a 15 amp outlet. This is showing the position of that shelf in the pulled out and downward position. And as you can see on the right-hand side, just next to the shelves, there's a divider, which allows you to have access for long storage tools. Looking at the very bottom of the apparatus underneath, this is the location for your folding rear chock. There is also a mount for a winch, which has a 9,000 pound capacity. You can see the folding chock on your left. On the right-hand side, this is going to be the receiver location for that winch location. And then just to the right of that, there'll be your power outlet for utilizing the winch. This is the location of the power out with a red cap over the connection. This is the 9,000 pound maximum allowable winching rating. This is going to be the left-hand side or driver's side and a rear section of the rear of the apparatus, but we'll look underneath the tailboard of this first before we move into the other sections. Underneath here you have a center-mounted tow section or attachment point, right and left side perimeter lights, and you can also see you have access for a winch with, once again, a rated capacity on that winch of 9,000 pounds. On the very back also is the winch electrical connection. This is going to be a side view looking underneath. at the perimeter lights, in addition with your covered pump access areas. This is going to be your attachment point for your winch in the rear. And you can see on the right hand side the red cover for the electrical connection. Once again, 9,000 pound maximum allowable winch rating for this access area. As we move upward onto the back of the tailboard, you can see at the very bottom you have two illuminated work lights. We'll talk a little bit about those here shortly, and we'll also talk about your ladder. But first, let's talk a little bit about the ladder and how that operates. As you can see, your ladder is currently in the stowed position. I'll show you a couple more slides showing some of the levers. In the up section here, you can see the lever on the right of the hand side of the ladder, and also a locking point on the left hand side of the ladder. To activate that, merely go ahead and depress the right hand side. This will allow your access to gain movement, and on the left hand side allows your access to be pulled in the outward position or away from the truck. Once the ladder has been moved away from the truck, as you can see in this image here, then you can go ahead and depress the other lever, which will allow you to slide the lower section of the ladder from within side and lower the ladder section down. This is that lever that allows you to lower that ladder all the way down. Be cautious in danger areas here. There are a considerable amount of pinch points, so just be aware of your hands when operating the ladder. This is that lever that shows you to operate the lever in the downward position. And then you can see now in the next slide, this is with it fully in its operational position. Just on the left-hand side of the apparatus, you'll see the hose bed lights. This is a switch that is accessed from also inside the cab to allow you to turn on your hose bed lights. In between the ladder, this is a rear-facing fixed floodlight. Also make note of the various warning labels in this section area, because there is a lot of moving parts in this area. Just above that, you also have a warning light. Looking just to the right hand side, you can see the hinge portion of the next compartment door. This is a small compartment door that opens, which allows access to your folding ladder, in addition to long pike pole or long handled storage. Looking just above that location, this is going to be a step light to gain access to the top of the apparatus or rear of the hose bed. This is going to be from that standing position looking toward the front of your apparatus. You can see the storage locations in addition with your cover that allows you to have a covered hose bed. This is the locking or latching mechanism for that, in addition with a pull strap. This is the right hand side of your apparatus. We're looking at the bottom section, which is your reverse. Just up from that turn at the very top is your brake. This is going to be a warning light just next to the step that pulls down to gain access above. When the compartment is opened in the very rear, this reveals your hose reel. On the right hand side of the hose reel, this is going to be your reel rewind button, and just beneath that is, if you have a power failure, a manual crank, which there is a handle located inside the cab. Just above that, this is going to be a pull-out shelf. Above that, you have some, at the very top, I should say, these are your traffic advisor. Just beneath that, this is your rear-facing camera, generalized view of your hose bed, retractable cover. This is going to be looking at the rear section of the hose bed. On the passenger side, there is a discharge port for a pre-connected rear hose bed. This is going to be your Pierce logo. Just above that Pierce logo as a reference point, or I'm sorry, just beneath that location, there's going to be a folding step, which also has the ability to grip with your hand. Just above that location and above that on the opposite side, this is going to be your location for your license plate. In addition, with a light for that, and just above that, once again, is that rear-facing floodlight. As we move to the opposite side of this location, to the right-hand side of the apparatus, this is the passenger side, you're going to see a once opened a door that gains access to the ladders. This is going to show you the rear-facing right-hand side floodlight. As you open this compartment door, this gains access to your ladders. You have an extension ladder in addition with a roof ladder. Moving just to the right of that and slightly above that, there is an emergency light in addition with an additional compartment door for storage location, and I'll show you that here in the next set of slides. Just above the small compartment, there is also a larger compartment for storage. Let's take a look at those compartments here in the next set of slides. This is the small compartment just to the left of that, to the left of that emergency light. This is going to be a pole storage location for long poles. This is the next compartment up from above that. This is going to be your large diameter intake hoses, hard suction. We're going to move around to the opposite side. This is the passenger side, rear section of the apparatus. Just underneath the rear section of the apparatus on the lower section, this is going to be an additional attachment point for your winch, in addition with a red cover which covers your electrical contacts for operating that winch. Once again, this is a 9,000 pound maximum allowable winch rating. As we move up from this location to that rear compartment with the compartment door open, you can see you've got two pull-out locations on the bottom. One has a divider, and at the very top there is an electrical outlet. This is a shoreline outlet, which is a 15 amp service, in addition with a 12 volt DC termination block at the very top. As you can see in this compartment, all of the shelves in this compartment are adjustable. The very bottom shelf, although is fixed, it is a pull-out shelf. I have an image of that here next. This is in the outward position. You can see that the other shelves are adjustable as we move up from that location. You have a pegboard pull-out center spine shelf. And you can see on the left-hand side, this is an upper section, which is an adjustable shelf also. The next image I have is of that being pulled outward so you can gain access to your tools. As we move to the upper section of the rear portion of the cab, you're going to see a tail marker, an emergency light, and a side-facing fixed floodlight. As we move toward the center section of the cab, there is a roll-up compartment door. Inside this roll-up compartment door, I've got another image of the door here for you shortly. As we look at this roll-up door, once the door has been operated and moved to the open position, this is going to be a location to your swing-out pegboard tool board. You can see the latch here, quarter turn on the latch, which allows you to open. This tool board is also movable in and outward. The next image is the latch itself. Just simply turn the latch, and you can see on the left-hand side, this is an adjustable tool board. Once that tool board is in the open position, it will become locked in this position. To allow the tool board to be moved or restored back into its original position, simply find the location for the hinge, and just by that, there is a lift up to release the tool board, which will allow the tool board to close. Just below this compartment, this is the storage location for, once again, SCBA bottle storage. You have 3 spots for bottle storage. In addition with that bottle storage, there are 3 safety straps to prevent any bottles from falling out while in movement or in motion. As you look just forward of this to the rear wheel, you'll notice a warning label regarding the heat is exhaust for temperature that is hot. Please make note of that when you're parking your apparatus. This is a location of your exhaust port. As you can see just forward of that, those are the two internal relief valves, and you should not cap those, and they're clearly marked with that. This is a picture from underneath showing your driving chains, which are automatic. As we move forward of that rear tire, additional bottle storage with, once again, the straps on these locations for safety. Moving to the forward compartment of the main section of the body. As we look into this compartment, you have a adjustable sliding center spine shelf, in addition with a pull-out shelf on the bottom and two adjustable shelves in the upper section. Once that is pulled out, it reveals that it has pegboard, once again for tool storage. This is another, if you remove these pins, you can also remove the center spine of this pegboard. In the upper right-hand corner, you've got, once again, shore outlet. This is going to be a 15 amp outlet, and you've also installed a breaker bus. Looking once again at the center shelves on the right-hand side, you can see in this compartment two adjustable upper shelves, and at the very bottom, an adjustable pull-out shelf. I'm sorry, a fixed pull-out shelf. All right, just moving forward of this location toward the front cab. This is going to be the midsection, which is just the pump panel location. And just above that also there's some access to some hose storage. But let's start with the pump panel. Looking in the center, large diameter discharge. Talking the upper left-hand corner, this is going to be a discharge. And also in the upper right-hand corner, you'll see a small hole. That is the passenger side main inlet override for the electronic valve. This is another picture of the left-hand side, which is going to be your water strainer. An additional picture showing the water strainer on the right-hand side, showing that discharge, and just underneath that showing the large diameter discharge. As you can see, it's color-coded once again. You can see this discharge port for number 2 is color-coded, and it also has in the center the orange override, which is where you would insert the tool to open or close the valve if you had a mechanical problem with that individual valve. Moving just down from this location, this is going to be your large diameter discharge. In addition, this is going to be the override for the large diameter discharge. Looking at the very bottom of these, just above the step, on the left-hand side, this is going to be your cab lift. This is the device that allows you to tilt your cab to gain access to the engine. Be cautious and read the information on the danger when moving the cab. Make sure things are secured in that location prior to movement. Looking just beneath this location, this is going to be your drain valves for your water strainer drain, pump drain, passenger main inlet side drain, in addition, large diameter and number 2 passenger drain. This is the water strainer drain located at the very bottom. And once again, just underneath this location is the access point to open to gain access to your pump panel, which is enclosed. You can also see in this that there is a step, and underneath that step there is an additional perimeter light. As we look at that step, this is the same makeup of the step on the driver's side. There is the rubber hasp on the right hand side. Simply remove the rubber hasp, which allows you to outfold that step, and once that is in the open position, it gives you more deck space for standing on it. Moving just forward of this step is the body cab. And on the cab itself, there is a step to gain access to the rear portion. This is the step which has a light also for visual. Moving upward to that, you can see at the very top of the cab, this is a fixed floodlight. This compartment is a roll-up door. Once accessed into the roll-up door, for closing it, there is a strap at the top. Just simply pull the strap to close the door. Some of the contents that are inside this compartment. This is the compartment that houses that longboard, in addition with a speed load or cross lay. As you can see, both the upper and lower sections have that lever in the middle to allow you to remove those sections. This is a lower section has 2 pre-connected, and the upper section has 1 cross lay. This is an emergency light on the actual body. Once again, a generalized shot here from the side. You can see you have also the right, forward, and left, forward, and rear locking door handles with grab rails. This also has a passenger side or right turn camera located just behind the grab rail. As we move to the forward or front door, this is going to be the step that allows you to have access into the front passenger seat. As you can see, there is also a light in this location for accessing that step. Generalized picture here, just to give you a reference point of where we're at. As we move into the front section of the cab, this is going to be the driver's door. And what I'd like you to pay attention to are the warning labels here on the driver's door. On the lower section, a clear reflective piece of tape when your door is in the open position, in addition with a flashing light to indicate that the door is open or ajar for traffic. As we move upward on this door, you'll see you'll have your manual window opener, in addition with warning labels regarding seatbelt, SCBA hazards, and crash information. Moving just upward of these warning labels, this is going to be the pull for closing the door, and just to the front of that, this is the lever to allow you to open the door. Inside the lever to open the door, as you can see in this next image, in the very center, this is your locking mechanism to lock the door. Once again, a quick view of those hazard labels. And then from there, we're going to move to the inside cab, where we'll talk about some of the components with inside the cab. First, let's start looking from a generalized outward picture looking in. You can see your driver's seat, and we'll talk a little bit about some of the components with inside the this area. This is looking downward. Next one's going to be looking upward. Once again, just to give you a quick reference point of what we're talking about, this is going to be the driver's side, and we'll also cover the rest of the cab here shortly. Looking inside, you can see the red color-coded seat belts, so you can clearly identify when someone has their seat belts on. For the operator of this vehicle, there is also a up and down air-activated seat with a lever to allow it to tilt forward and backwards. As you can see in the very bottom section of this, there is a pull handle to allow the seat to slide forward and backwards. And as you see on the very bottom section of this screen, there is a yellow placard. This is the Pierce manufactured placard. This gives information on your piece of equipment regarding the date of manufacture, August 2016. Just to the side of that, you're going to see the job number 29685. Also, as we move down, this is the gross vehicle weight rating. And just beneath that, there is going to be your fluid capacities, and at the very top, your VIN number. Looking at the lower section, this is going to be your treadle for the brake. To the right of that is the guide wire for your throttle. Moving to the left-hand side, this is going to be Pierce Information Center for a diagnostic, which is the green port. And the silver is the quarter turn for your battery switch. Just underneath that are the diagnostic and regen information. Your vehicle is equipped with an airbag, as you can see with the SRS insignia in the steering column. As we move to the left-hand side of the column, this is going to be your right and left turn signal. If you want to bright or pull for bright flash, pull the turn signal, which will give you a flash of the headlights. Next thing down on the column, push for telescope, which will allow the column to move forward and backwards, or out and in, and then pull for tilt. This allows the steering wheel to tilt forward and backwards. On the left-hand side, ignition switch with the light that illuminates, in addition with your start momentary switch just above that. As we move to the inward section of that, this is going to be your emergency master, or actually this is a general view of the dash cluster to give you an idea where things are at. As we look at the lower section of your dash, this is going to show you where your emergency master is. This is the activation for your headlights and parking lamps, in addition with a rocker switch for brightening and dimming your panel lights. As we look to the other side of the panel, this is going to be a on-off switch for your high idle with a light that is turning green to indicate that it's okay to put into high idle. General view of your cluster with the transmission oil, DEF level, water temperature, tachometer, speedometer, volts, front and rear air, and a fuel gauge. When the rig is initially started, this will illuminate to let you know that all of the lights are working and functioning. This is an information or diagnostic location that will provide you information on things within your cab, in addition with your trip and mileage and hours. On the right hand side, the twist for your indication for moving or scrolling through those and resetting your mileage, trip mileage. Once again, high idle is okay, high idle switch on off. Looking at the left hand side, or the A pillar, you'll find yourself a pull handle. Just beneath that pull handle, the lower section, attached on the A pillar is going to be your VIN number. It's not pictured here, but this is the location of it. Generalized view of the operator's seat looking forward, and we'll delve into more of the components as we move forward here too. Just about right hand knee height for the operator. This is going to be your main control for the mirror and the convex mirror. Just moving above that location, at about reaching location, you'll find the pull for parking brake, and also to the right hand side is the Allison transmission pad, with also a note indicating to pump in neutral. This is the parking yellow pull to apply, push to release. Just above that, you have the engine brake on off, engine brake high, medium, low, a fuel primer, tire change, mirror heat, and a load manager. Moving up from that, this indicates the stationary okay to pump while rolling, your water pump, foam system, CAFS compressor, pump and roll, and open TTP valve close. At the very top, you have a front flood, driver and passenger scenes, a rear light for scene lights, and a push to talk for your radio, which is PTT. This is your climate control center. Moving to the right, just on the dash itself, this is going to be your right, left, and rear camera monitoring location. Just to the right of the right and left and rear backup, this is going to be your intercom system. Looking overhead from the operator's seat, looking upward, you have a white and red push button on off, in addition with a ceiling mounted speaker, and you can see the blue box, which is the location where you plug in your headset. Looking to the left hand side, generalized view of overhead of the operator. Let's start with the furthest left hand side. There is a placard, and on that placard is your height, 10 feet 3 inches, your length, 32 feet 3 inches, gross vehicle weight at 25 tons, and just below that, job number. You also have two visors. Just above those visors, as we move forward, in the center between the two of those, this is going to be the location of your open compartment door light warning sound. It flashes, and it also is audible. Moving just to the rear of this location, you're going to find your traffic advisor. You have a variety of different functions, in addition with on-off power. Moving just above that location on the face mount is your Pierce seatbelt indicator, indicating when someone is actively in the seat and whether or not they have their belt on. Moving up just above, starting at the left-hand side from the placard, moving to the right-hand side, we'll cover those bank of switches here in the next set of images. As we look at the first set, this is going to be your emergency master, roof light, warning, side light warning, rear warning, and upper rear warning. Moving over to the next set of switches, you have a high beam flash, Opticom on-off, siren or horn, air horn or electric horn, and in red, your siren brake. Moving once again further to the right, this is going to be a readout for your pump pressure, your water tank, and your foam A tank. Looking to the center section of the cab, this is going to be for map books or materials for your area. Looking back to the very back of the cab, there are two center-mounted SCBA seats. In addition, on both the left and right side of these seat locations is a storage compartment. This is going to be the passenger side, and then this is going to be the operator side. Located just to the front of those locations, there is a roll-up compartment. This is the driver's side roll-up compartment. In between the two roll-up compartments, you'll find an access point. Push the handle in, open the latch, and once it's in the pulled down position, this is where you'll gain access for checking your fluids. For example, your engine oil access is here, transmission oil. There's also a light inside that will illuminate, which is a push on, push off, to be able to better see inside this location. You can see the light switch just above there in the upper right hand corner. All right, once we've pulled out back from that location, let's take a look at those roll-up compartment doors. Once again, they're illuminated with inside, and they also have adjustable shelves on the inside of those locations. Just above those locations at head height, you can see there is a illuminated compartment within the very top section of the cab. There is one on the left, and there is also one on the right-hand side. There's going to be a general location. This is going to be for your map book storage or book storage. This is the inside of those tall cabinets to the left and right of those center sections. You can also gain access to these compartments from inside the cab. Just above that, this is your air conditioner, push on and off red lights, and you also have two rear speakers in this location. Looking upward in the cab in the rear section, you'll see that there are a right and left mounted speakers. In addition, there are push button white and red lights and also location of your air conditioning. Looking from the outside into the passenger front section, you can see the warning labels on the door once again. As you look into the cab, this is an SCBA mounted seat, and there is also the red visible seat belt. Moving to the actual seat itself, underneath the passenger seat is a location for the air ride to inflate or deflate the seat for height. This is going to be a little bit closer image of that. It's just under your left-hand side, right in the center. As you move forward to the very front of the cab, this apparatus is equipped also with SRS, or a supplemental restraint system airbag. You can see that that is the SRS symbol. Just beneath that, there is also an access point for electronics behind that. Moving to the right-hand side of the cab, this is the fill for your windshield wipers. And just moving upward or looking up to the A-pillar, there is also a grab handle for gaining access inside the cab. As we move to the center section of the cab, this is where you're going to find your 12-volt power outlets. There are 3 of them, 2 on the dash and 2 on the side. This is also the location just underneath this section for your SRS. This is the location of your airbag, and do not block that location with any equipment. As we move upward to the left-hand side of the dash, you'll see this is the radio PTT for radio push to talk, in addition with 2 12-volt access points. Moving just to the left-hand side of this is going to be your mechanical siren and a siren brake, in addition with a 12-volt access point also. Looking overhead, this is the passenger seat directly above. You'll see that there is a radio. There are also locations for future switches or future components to the left-hand side. You can see in the center there is a pull cord. This is to activate your air horns. All right, we're back on top now, looking at the hose bed cover, in addition with individualized covers for compartment storage from accessing above. There are two on each side for covered storage on the passenger and driver's side, in addition with the center hose bed cover, which has a roll-up hose bed style or hard cover. To access the hose bed, merely lift up on the latch down at the very bottom, similar to the side roll-up doors. And there is a pull cord on the right-hand side for pulling that closed. These are going to be some generalized shots of those compartments with them in the open position. They are also illuminated at the access point for getting a hold of the latch, in addition with lights on the inside for identifying tools and equipment with inside. Just inside this compartment, on the opposite side, there is an additional compartment which is a little bit longer. As we move toward the front of the cab, this is an area that houses the where near the water tank fill is and your foam tank. This is going to be your foam compression or CAFS system at the top mount for the servicing of that. This is going to be the door logo of your department's logo. And congratulations on your new apparatus, job number 29685. If you have any questions regarding this video, please contact your salesman with any questions that you may have. Thank you and congratulations.